I'm going to go ahead and get started because I know like we are on a very tight timeline and I tend to get super excited about things. And please know that Bridget's going to be pushing out links. You can follow me on Twitter. You can check out my blog, techyoucando.com. You can she'll put the presentation in there as well. And because this is a Google Sheets presentation, the presentation is actually built in Google Sheets, which I know is, you're like, wait, what? What? She said it's in Sheets. Yep, that's right. So as a means to show you that Google Sheets is far more than a spreadsheet tool, I have created and used Google Sheets successfully, specifically when I have done presentations about Google Sheets, because it shows people that it is far more than, you know, numbers or, you know, gathering data and all that kind of stuff. So you can see number one, very much like a Google slide where you have a slide for multiple things. Down at the bottom, Sheets uses the tabs. You know, it's the Google answer to Excel. I'm going to also stop for a second and introduce myself. My name is Sarah Kiefer. I am a tech integration specialist for the Ross Local Schools, which is a bit northwest of Cincinnati, Ohio, to give you a frame of reference. However, I did start my whole education career as a classroom teacher, 5th grade, and then I moved up to 7th and 8th grade. And each of those I did spend about 7 years in each one. And I loved it. I really did. I also very much enjoyed changing and switching roles. It kind of gave me a chance to jog my professional growth. It gave me a chance to encourage my brain to grow a bit. And then about 4 years ago, I was given the opportunity to become the tech integration specialist. It was a brand new role. However, it was splitting time between 2 elementary buildings. So I was a 7th and 8th grade social studies teacher. Love it. Love all the social studies teachers out there. I love all of the teachers out there, but social studies is a special place in my heart. And my job shifted down to the elementary level, which is pre-K to 4. So for me, it was a big shift in my thinking. It went from, you know, big kids who fairly independent, you know, they could mostly read and write and follow directions and a lot of that stuff, to like the little ones, the little kids, you know, they smile and they love you and they're happy to be at school and they want to hug you all of the time. And also it's the common thought that maybe they're not supposed to be using technology, or maybe it's not the best thing for them to be on computers. And while I agree all kids should not just solely be on a computer, there are times where computers are fantastic tools for these kids to be using. So my whole shift in thinking led me to where I'm at today. And I share out on my blog roughly Sundays every week, techyoucando.com, a variety of different activities or processes or thinking things through for all teachers. And my main focus is Google. I am a Google certified innovator. That's actually how I met Dr. Desiree Alexander, who's backing me on this whole presentation. And she is my innovator coach. So we met a little more than a year ago, and fast forward to today, I'm here to share with you Google Sheets for the classroom. It is not just a spreadsheet tool. And in fact, you're not going to see probably anything that looks like a spreadsheet today. Now, the cool part about Google Sheets is if you look at my Google Sheet, the tabs at the bottom allow you to divide out information. I even put, if you notice down on my tab, start here, I even have a little emoji in there. It's awesome. You can put stuff in there. You can change the color of the tabs. Sheets is a green, so you can see I just have like a, what do they call that? The ombre of color of green throughout. If you don't notice, it goes further than maybe what is initially showing on your screen. There's far more there. What I also did was I provided a table of contents over here. So each of these, if you hover over them, and that's why this isn't in presentation mode. It's a sheet, it's not a slide. So there is no presentation mode, it just is your sheet. But you can easily hover over and you see these little hyperlinks pop up. Click on it and it takes you right to that particular sheet. So keep that in mind as we go through here. I also have links to my blog, Twitter, tweet at me, email me. I'm a big Wakelet lover. So follow me on Wakelet. I have a whole Wakelet just devoted to Google Sheets. But let's go ahead and get started. Sheets can be somewhat intimidating, and I'm not going to lie, I was somewhat intimidated by Sheets a handful of years ago. And then I started seeing other people using it in a very creative manner. And I was like, okay, I should probably learn more about Sheets. I have since even gone into classrooms and used Sheets with even the youngest of students. Obviously, as you get older, it feels a little bit easier, but we'll get there. So the first thing I want to do is cover some of the basics. So you can either click on the tab at the bottom, just watch me on the screen, or if you'd like to, you can click on this little bookmark over here to the right. Either way, it gets you to the tab that says the basics. So what I've done on this is I've kind of built out, and I'm not going to go through this and like super high level detail because I want to actually get into the activities that you can use with your students in your classroom. Many of them are just ready to go. Grab the link and share it with them. Some of them you might want to take it and kind of do a little bit of adjusting to make it feel the most appropriate to your particular students. But here on the basics, it gives you backgrounds, it gives you ideas. What are some of these things? Because I know that's kind of the intimidating part, is when you don't even know what your options are. And you can see what I've done here is I've almost kind of given you, you know, a layout of like a glossary, if you will, or something like that, that, you know, the tabs, each new Google Sheet has what's also called workbook. You know, it's a workbook and it has tabs at the bottom. You can add in more tabs. If you click this lovely little stacked lines, it's more than a hamburger menu. You can actually see all of the tabs that you have, and you can see my colors a little bit better. You can see that ombre effect. Each one of those is a different color. And that can also be an easy navigation tool for you and your students, right? So then you have the toolbar, which is this piece up here. Now, the awesome thing about Google, what I really love and I very much appreciate for Google, is that for the most part, if you're comfortable with tools in slides, you're going to be mostly comfortable with the tools here in Sheets. Obviously, each one has a specific purpose, so you're going to find some variety. You're going to not find everything to be identical. So keep that in mind and make sure that you are aware of that while they might be identical or they might look very much the same, they are not identical. They're not identical. They're similar, if anything. I just lost my train of thought for a second. Okay, so moving on down, you've got the toolbars, and I've put in some extra little doodads over here to the side that you might need to scroll right and left. It does have a scroll bar down at the bottom of Sheets to be able to go right and left. So keep that in mind as well. Sorry, I was changing a setting here. And then I've got some little tips for each of these little sections. Now, an important thing as a teacher that we all know is if you don't know or don't understand the vocabulary behind whatever tool or whatever activity or content that you're working with, if you don't know the vocabulary, sometimes that's going to lead to problems and get tripped up. So what I did here, and this is something that you can always come back to and refer to, is I've kind of itemized out many of the vocab words. Obviously, it's not an exhaustive list. It's the bigger ones that people will probably want to know about. So I've got some of those, what it is, where you might find it, and then also some little maybe tips or highlighting something specific about that particular word. And when you keep coming down, Sheets obviously is built in large part for the use with numbers. But again, today I'm going to show you, like, let's flip our thinking. Let's completely adjust that. And here are some of the things that you can do within Google Sheets. You can color things in, just very much like I have a lot of the greens filled in. Merging cells, that is an incredibly helpful piece in Google Sheets. aligning your text, which directions that you want to use it, using comments, just like in slides and docs and drawings. You can do commenting in Google Sheets here too. Filtering, very powerful tool in Sheets. And formulas. Obviously, it's a spreadsheet tool. Probably should have the use of formulas. All right, so those are just some of the basics, Bridget. Keeping an eye on the chat over there.
I am, Sarah. You have one question, and you may be addressing this later on. Okay. Isabel wants to know, can we use Google Sheets in order to create our lesson plans? And also, can we use them to create filters, I believe is what she asked.
Creating lesson plans, I would say absolutely. Sheets was my, if I'm thinking of a lesson plan book to where I would be putting in, and then I would, in the olden days, right, that's what I would print out and give to my principal. Obviously, in more modern times, you can just use the beautiful green share button and share this with your principal or your administrator, whomever it is that you're responsible to turn your lesson plans into. If you're thinking of lesson plans as far as giving this to students for them to be able to do the activities, absolutely. And that's a lot of what I'm going to show you today. Is these are all student activities that either I have done specifically with students, or I know of people that have used it with their students. Very little of this is directly with me as a teacher and my use, but Sheets was my lesson plan book. I formatted mine to look very much like I had 7th grade and 8th grade. So I put in all of my 7th grade stuff on one side and all my 8th grade stuff, you know, it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. I formatted it to look that way. So yes, absolutely. And then what was the second part of that question, Bridget?
Can you create filters in Google Sheets?
Yes, absolutely. And that was, if you remember the vocab part, I got to scroll down. Try not to go too super fast. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Filter. Yep. It allows you to only see certain chunks of your data, if you will. And I'm not going to tell you that I am any kind of expert on filters, but I also have put links to places where you can go and find some help. This one specifically links you to Google's help with filters. So let's move on. And Bridget, again, feel free to interrupt with questions. It's all good. So down at the bottom, you can see if you click on this stack vertical lines here, you'll see that I have multiple additional tabs. I'm just going to kind of flow through these. And if there's questions that you have about specific ones, please just, you know, let us know, because the best way to get your answers is going to be to ask them, right? That's what we tell our students all the time. So Google Sheets is phenomenal if you are teaching fractions or you need your students to work with fractions. So what I have done is I have actually shared this out on my, I guess you would consider it my third, it's not actually a blog, but I have a co-created site with one of my colleagues, and we call it Templates for Teachers. And I have all of these linked in there. So basically what we have done is we've created these items. She is a 3rd grade teacher in the same district that I work in. This is an activity that I actually created for a different 3rd grade teacher, and I called it Fractions with Sheets. And the teacher wanted to do something techie, but she also needed to teach fractions. So what we did was, and again, because I'm not a traditional 3rd grade teacher, she explained to me what they were doing with fractions and the things that she wanted to work with them and teach them and enhance them with fractions. And we had a conversation about it, and then I went back and I created Fractions with Sheets. It's linked in here. There's the template that you can grab and make a copy of it for yourself. Or if you open up the blog, it's going to also be down here, either of these two. This is a view only. You'll need to make a file, or you'll need to go to File, Make a Copy, and then it's yours. And then honest and truly, you can do with it what you need to. We share this out, Templates for Teachers. You are welcome to take any of the templates that are on here, customize them that work perfectly for you, for your students. And you can even see up here, we kind of give you a little bit of background with it. And then we also give you some ideas for potential modifications. So this was created for 3rd grade. Obviously, if you're working with older students, you may want to do something different. If you're working with younger students, you may want to do something a little different. So I'm going to open the view only link because this is what a lot of us are comfortable with. And when you open this up, you would need to do file and then make a copy, which is what I'm going to do. And that way, this is a version that is yours. You are now the owner of it. You may do with it whatever it is that you would like. So if you feel like there's too much at the bottom, get rid of it. If you feel like there's not enough, add more. If you don't ever handle fraction blocks up to 1/18, delete this tab. It's no big deal. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I'm putting this out there to give you a starting place to work with. And you can see I've got some information up here, and this is where Sheets becomes an incredibly powerful tool. You have one big block, and then you break it into two. So students can see half and half, and then you can do thirds, and thirds turn into ninths, and ninths turn into 1/18. It's a pretty nice way for students to be able to see how all of those pieces work together. And I took this idea from the actual fraction blocks that the teacher had in her classroom that the kids could manipulate with. Same with the 12ths. Obviously, if you do the math, you can't put the fourths in the same as the ninths and all that kind of jazz. So I split them out. Plus, it gives a little bit different of a visual for the students. So again, in this, I even suggest in here that the kids can change the colors if they want to, kind of personalize it a little bit. Gives them a little bit of work within Google Sheets. They can just click on the little paint bucket, pick their own color, change it to be whatever they want, whatever works for them, right? Allow them to personalize it, do a little bit of ownership there. And then moving on, here's your turn. So on here, the idea is that you have actually done some work with fractions a little bit, or maybe this, if this is your intro, everyone's doing this together. I actually had this pulled up on a projector when I went into the classroom and we did this part together. I've built in a little bit of vocabulary up here for the kids. Top number in a fraction is called, and then the kids would fill in numerator. Bottom number in the fraction is called, kids would fill in denominator. So they're building out their own sheets here. And then over here, I've got some things filled in, and you notice I'm relying heavily on color in order to help the students see these fractions. And again, when we go through this, you know, here's your whole, and you've got your fourths and fourths here, and over here you see the greens and the yellows. And again, these are just specific cells in Sheets. I've adjusted the width so they look more square than the long rectangles that you saw at the very beginning on my basics. Oh, where's my basics? No, that was on my presentation. Over here on my sheet, the basics, where they look long rectangular. On here, I've just adjusted the width of the columns, and I've adjusted the width, the depth, I guess, of the rows to make them into more squares. I'm also using color heavily to help show the kids how many of these 6 blocks are yellow. Hey, that's 2. I can do these fractions. You know, there's 4 of them, right? So be thinking about how color is also impacting their use with fractions. Again, over here, there's 8 here, and we're building, right? This is the intro. This is the basics. This is where the kids are all starting. And then you move on to the next tab, and it's, come on, little buddy, math with fractions, where some of the numbers were filled in. Now none of the numbers are filled in. So it's giving the kids, and it's not just small, simple little, I've got a little bit more complex patterns here, or one big long line of blocks. You can come down and you can see now we've introduced 3 colors. So we're building this out. And then another thing that I've tucked in down here at the bottom, they can create and design their own fractions. And by doing that, all they have to do is, you know, select these, fill in the colors, again, using the tools that are built into Sheets to design fractions. And then continuing on, again, we're stepping up with this. So this is not intended to be a one-day activity, right? Like we're building up with this. And make your own. So here's, it looks very much like the your turn, right? And they're blank. So I've got the actual whole, and then the kids can design and decide which colors and how many colors and all that. And again, down at the bottom, they can design and create their own. And then I'm gonna save this fraction pixel art for a moment because we're gonna come back to that on my presentation. That's actually the next tab. So I'm jumping back to my presentation. We started with fractions down here. This is the link to the blog where you can actually find that particular spreadsheet that has all of that information on here. Or if you go ahead and you click on this, this is going to take you directly to the template. This up here kind of gives you some of that background information. So it's all tucked in on this particular presentation, and Bridget is sharing out the links that are in here. All right, so the next one, as I promised, pixel art. Pixel art builds off of kind of understanding fractions in a way. Again, I'm just gonna go straight to the template on this one, but please know that on our blog, we share some ideas to level up and level down. I'm going to say use template. Give it a second. It's actually going to go ahead and make a copy inside my drive. So now I'm the owner of this. Give it a second, it's loading. And you can see on this front side, we put this on here. Delete it when you've got your own copy of it. We just wanted people to understand that we don't want to charge for this. We want to freely give these away. And we have unfortunately found a few people that were trying to take our stuff and sell them, and we just want to make sure that that doesn't happen. You don't need to pay for any of this. We're freely sharing this out. Customize it however you want. So here, again, I've built where you start with a foundation and you just keep working your way up, increasingly making it a little bit more difficult. And it shows you over here, the second tab provides some basic vocabulary, helpful tips. So again, somewhat designed to make this a pretty independent activity if your students are ready for it. Otherwise, it gives you a lot of the background and structure to guide you as you're working with the kids through these activities. So I've got some vocabulary built into here, some help, how you change the colors on the cells, using letters and numbers, using conditional formatting, which again is kind of like a level up, right? For level 3, and they're broken down by the levels. For level 3, changing the size of the cells, and then going beyond, going bigger, going more. Definitely not stuff that you need to do right away. There's information in there too. So let's move on to level 1. Let's see what's here on level 1. So you can see you've got all of these colors up there at the top, and you've got your directions over here to the side. Look at the first and second rows. Row 1 lists the alphabetical and numbers, right? We're gonna move on to this. And then row 2 has the colors. I have both letters and numbers just because I wanted to give them more color. So anywhere that I click in here and I put in an A, it's going to change it to black. So it's very helpful. And sorry, my daughters are being a little bit loud. So you can just fill in colors anywhere you want using different letters. And this is always fun for the kids that they can just pick different blocks and do different things. And at first it's good for them to just play. Ideally, you know, they could build out, like, let's say I want this to be a black border, right? So I might do A all the way down. And then I want to come across. Let's let these kids get a little creative. It's there for them. It's wonderful. It's a great way to start building out this. They can do whatever they want, right? They could, I think we did this maybe around Christmas time. I think some of them did stockings on a fireplace. Some kids drew a backyard. Some kids drew a map. You could really do whatever their little hearts intend, also while teaching them about sheets. So then moving on to level 2, we're changing the color of the cells. So in the level 1, it's done for them. And level 2, you're actually allowing them full control over the colors. Level 1, they're kind of locked into these. I mean, not really, but they're kind of locked into these, at least at the front. Level 2, they can click on a square and go wild with whatever color it is that they want to do. They can even put in their own custom colors if they want. So again, we're stepping them up through this. Level 3, I mean, just go beyond that. Now, I put this here because the intention for this is really that the kids just go wild with it. And they're not going to want my instructions to necessarily stay right there. It's all back on the vocabulary and tips sheet tab. So they can always refer back to it. I literally just copied and pasted these over so that it's like front and center for them on these levels. But they can easily click on that, delete it, and it's gone. And then they have like the whole blank sheet to work with. Same for you.
Hey, Sarah, I don't have questions, but I do want to tell you that I have a couple of comments that you should hear that they think this is awesome, and it's really cool to get the students involved.
Yes, and that's what teachers get intimidated by it, but the kids are going to sense that. So if you can present it in a way that, I mean, we're not doing spreadsheet stuff. We're using a spreadsheet, but it's not. And then once you say, hey, we need to convert this over, now we're going to use sheets in a different way, guys. Like, they already understand a lot of these tools. They're already familiar with some of the vocabulary, and it's just that much less, right? So keep that kind of stuff in mind, that you don't have to look at sheets and go, oh, it's just a boring spreadsheet. No, it's not. It is so much more than that. So much more than that. And again, like beyond level 3, just again, keep going wild and crazy. And this is something that, especially in our hybrid remotes and face-to-face, all of the kids don't have to do all of these activities. You could start everybody out with level 1, get them into it, get them going with it. And if kids are progressing and they want to do more, hey, level 2's there, level 3's there. Maybe some of them will get to level 2 and be like, you know, that's good. Their free time. Or it's something that they can do that's more constructive than, you know, educationally than other things that they might be doing, and bringing them back and, again, working with the tools. All right, so that's pixel art. Let's go back to my presentation. Now let's take pixel art and let's kind of like explode it. Because I had, again, a 3rd grade teacher. Remember, I'm working in 2 elementary buildings. A 3rd grade teacher came to me and she said, Sarah, I really like that pixel art stuff. My kids are really big into it. They've really enjoyed it. She said, we're reading books. I'd really like to incorporate that. She's like, do you think they could make book covers using pixel art? And I was like, well, sure. I mean, it's not going to look identical, but that's kind of the point of pixel art. So there became pixelated book covers. And again, I've got this linked on templates for teacher. I'm going to go ahead and make a copy using my template. It's going to pop up. It's going to, even on this one, I link because I did end up writing a bit more about this activity and experience with that 3rd grade teacher that I worked with. And down here, you can actually go ahead and get the template and use the template. It makes a copy in your own. It does just take a second. And you can see the tabs down at the bottom. I've got 3 on this one. So here again, I'm using sheets. This is my directions sheet, and then it works the kids through. On this one, it was important for this teacher to be able to provide a bit of structure for her students before they started. So I made one tab to be a portrait book cover, and then the second tab is a landscape book cover. She was talking to the kids about the different ways that books are laid out. So the students had an option to choose, or they could do 2 book covers if they wanted to. So the directions on here level them up a little bit more with pixelations. You can see that they could add a border around the book to kind of give it a defined space. And then really when they go to the second tab, I've kind of given them that space to do, and I've included some directions over here because I know how important it is to try to keep students in a simple space as opposed to constantly having to click back and forth between. Kids get lost if they have to do that too much. And I'm also thinking of the variety of students that we have. So keeping them right here. And these kids, they really did go wild. If you go to the blog that I had shared, this one right here, I actually have a couple of pictures of the results. Actually, I'll just pull it up right now. It won't take that much.
Okay, while you're doing that, Sarah, one of the questions comes from Tamika, and she wants to know, how do you encode the directions on the slide like that?
It's a really cool tip / trick. I might call it a Jedi mind trick, but over here, so you see how I clicked on it once. It almost looks like a giant text box, but what it really is double click on it. It actually is a drawing embedded on your sheet. And you might go, wait, hold up, what? So let's say
mind blown.
Right? It's highly useful, and I would, now the bummer of it is if they click on this and they hit delete, it's gone. But Control Z or Command Z, whichever device you're on, bring it back. But to do that initially, you go to Insert, then you come down here to the friend drawing that people don't typically enjoy using. Here's your drawing, and then you can do a lot of the same things. Like here's a text box, you can add in shapes, do some drawing, you can even put in pictures if you wanted to. A lot of those same feels. It's a very simplified version of Google Drawings, but then when you have something in here, let's just put in a text box and say, here comes you're changing out your fonts, and I guess I should select my text first, right? Change your font, change your size. You could click on your sleeping snowman. Did you know that sometimes the snowman gets a little tired, he falls down, but don't worry, he still gives you some options when you click on him, and that's where you see how you can change colors and all that kind of stuff. That's my one little tip there. It's a sleeping snowman because he gets tired. And then when you're done and you've built out this information, directions, whatever, save and close, and there it is. And you can move it around wherever you want. It's kind of like a floating extra. Just keep in mind, click on that or delete it and it's gone. It's not saved somewhere. But yeah. So I introduced you to a couple of my friends, the sleeping snowman and inserting drawings.
And Tamika says, thank you very much. This is much easier than using Snippet.
Yes. Yes, and to build it in there, you can really kind of do a lot of that customization. And in fact, I believe, can you, no, not yet. I do think that there will come a time, because it's already in Docs, where with Sheets, you have to just go ahead and create it, but you could create it outside, copy all of it, paste it in here. But I do think there will come a time when you'll have the option to say, I want to pull in a drawing I already have. It's not there just yet. I think it'll get there. All right, and then the same is true for the landscape. It's a wider and longer setup for the kids as opposed to the portrait, which is up and down. It's a great way to also introduce students to portrait versus landscape. Get them thinking in those, because that's just a great art activity. Whew. Okay, jumping back. I'm going to move on, and you can see I've got several of them down here still. This last one being resources. I'm going to touch on that just real quick because again, it's a great way that you could be sharing out resources with your students or with colleagues or with parents if you wanted to. These are just images that I have inserted. You can see I've adjusted definitely the size of the row. I've clearly adjusted the width of the column, and then I've even made some small ones to kind of give some delineation and all that kind of thing. A little bit of a blurb about it, and then these are hyperlinks that will take you to these various resources. So be sure to check that out. Ben Collins is a fantastic Google Sheets, I call him the wizard when it comes to Google Sheets. He knows everything about it, and he knows things that I have yet to even think that I want to know, and then he shares them, and I'm like, that is amazing. It's just hands down awesome. So make sure you check out the resources. And then flippity.net. For a teacher, if you're not aware of this website, I strongly suggest you click on it, bookmark it, and then use it. And for those of you with students, and I would say pretty much third grade and up, can independently do Flippity activities, meaning that they can create them on their own. I have a third grader, a fifth grader, and a high schooler, and I encourage them, aka that means that mom tells them that this is how they have to do some stuff in order to help them study. We all have our hands tied with the amount of time that we have, and with having 3 kids, they're active. My husband is a nurse, so his work hours are long. So we have to be efficient with our use of time. Using Flippity has been a game changer with my girls. It's items that they can independently create, or I could create for them. They become little websites. I even share these out with some of the other parents of the students that are in the same grade as my girls and help their kids out. I share this with my teachers and encourage them to use it as well. I've just done little screenshots of his website here. Amazing. 100% amazing. And I will tell you which ones I absolutely love. This flashcards, because there are no accounts required. They are all built with Google Sheets. So as long as you have a Google account. And he even has added in this whole skip the spreadsheet option. I still love being able to customize it and control it, and it saves in your drive. So it's there. You could create a little quiz show like a Jeopardy. This random name picker, I mean, as a teacher, hello, it gets tiring to do that. You could even have this up and share it with students and allow them to be the ones that click on it and pick different kids. And it's super easy. If you get a new student or somebody moves, you can adjust the sheet super quick and you're ready to go again. This randomizer, random set of randomizer wheels. So each of those colors, you see the blue, the pink, the yellow, the green, they'll independently scroll through and you'll get different varieties. I love the little Flippity scavenger hunt. Breakouts, I think, are excellent ways to challenge your students and get them thinking in different ways and turning ideas up and down and even collaboratively. But yet it's not just question and answer. You know, it could be that you're linking them to something, they have to figure something out. I do this a lot of times around the holidays, like I'll make like maybe a Halloween scavenger hunt. But again, no accounts are required. It's a Google Sheet, it turns into a website, and I share it to my kids. And then we all have fun. He always adds in new ones. This one's new. You can see the little new Flippity board game. This Manipulatives is pretty cool. This little Flippity matching game, sorry, I scrolled too fast, is wonderful. I use this with a group of 4th graders, and we just did the demos. If you notice, he has a demo so that you can see this in action. He has instructions how you can create your own, and then he gives you a template. So ready-made, all you do is take out his, like on this one, you would delete his 20 kids' names, put in your own, and boom, you got your name picker. Wonderful, wonderful. Keep going with this little Flippity matching game. Foreign language teachers, are you out there? Kids struggling with understanding the Spanish word and the English word. Play this game. Build out on your sheet all of the English words and all the Spanish words. Better yet, have the kids do it. Why not? You could have 20 students creating 20 matching games. Somebody could be doing nouns, somebody could be doing verbs, somebody could be doing whatever, right? Have the kids involved in this, because once they understand this, they're going to be able to do this with not just your content, with any content. You know, I'm thinking like go little, go kindergarten, capital letter, lowercase letter. Play this game, match them up. It's fantastic. This timeline blew my mind. Like social studies teacher, always have to have timelines, right? That's just a key part to social studies. This timeline is an interactive timeline. You could put in links in there. You can put in pictures. You can add in little videos even. It's amazing. The one that he has as the example is all about Mr. Rogers. I found stuff out about Mr. Rogers that I'd never even had a clue existed. check that out and then let your kids do it. Give that template to your students. Hands off, teacher, done. Pass it on to them. Let them do the activity. Let them do the learning. It's made for you. It's wonderful. He also does have some things like this bingo that will allow you to create, and more in the idea and the realm of, I need to create this and then I'm going to print it out, right? You might do a bingo board. There are some crossword puzzles, some word searches. Those are things that feel a little bit more ideal to print out, and that's okay. We still do paper. My goal is never to be paper less. My favorite is paper light. The things that I can do digitally, especially in this world of hybrids and remotes and all that kind of stuff, the more I can do digitally that still makes sense, I would like to. If it still makes sense to do it on paper, my golly, people, just do it on paper. It works. Here's a little typing test. You want to get your kids better at typing? I don't know, put in some main ideas for the current science chapter. Or, hey, foreign language people, could you type this stuff out in that language? I'm not going to be able to do that, but I'm sure that you could. Or again, better yet, have the kids do it. Have the kids do it. This spelling words, because I know spelling is not my greatest strength, but for my own daughters, we create their spelling words in this Flippity, and then they can sit there and you can see that there are some tabs here. It reads to them. I think almost every single one of his tools here has an audio piece to it. Powerful. They can hear it. It's not always the best. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not always the best. Sometimes it sounds a little funky, but it is far better than anything, and you don't have to pay a penny. Okay, I love Flippity. I cannot tell you enough. Go to Flippity. Use it. It's wonderful. And I could sit here all day. I could probably do hours on Flippity stuff. Little tournament bracket. Love this. Mad Libs, get a kick out of it. I only ever have used the ones that he's created. I just use his demos. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. But you could have them create their own Mad Lib, right? Remember those books? Remember those when we were kids, that you get these books and it's bound at the top and you flip them over and you have to fill in like 20. They're like, what's a noun? What's a verb? Great grammar activity, right? Same with this now digital. You can make certificates. Wonderful. Okay, I'm running out of time. This next one, I had some teachers doing like money activities in their classrooms, and the kids had jobs and they got paid for those jobs, and some of them, you had to pay fines or all of that kind of stuff. They wanted to convert it to do it a little bit more digitally. So I used Sheets to create a checkbook. Now we're layering some math. We're layering in some real world skills. Kids have to be able to understand how to balance checkbooks, or at least they probably should, right? Ideally, they should know how to do this. So again, I've got a little blog about it. I have some template right here for you that you can take, customize the theme to your own students in your own class. Better yet, have them design the theme for you in Google Drawings and bring it in. Remember how I showed you there's a drawing tool inside of Sheets? Bring it in, put it in here, and then you can have your own theme, I guess is probably the best way to put that. And then down here, it's not a Google sheet. I did this in Google Drawings, but I actually made little checks so the kids understood how to write out a check. What goes where, the address, the check number, the date. Practice writing in cursive if that's something that you would like to do. Who it's going to, writing out the amount, all that kind of real world, but in a simplified. Now, the checks definitely are meant to be printed out, and they printed them and cut them apart and gave them that idea of exchanging money without it being actual, like even play money that will get lost. Keep that in mind too. The last item that I have to share is Sheets is a fantastic curation tool. And in this idea activity right here, again, it harkens back to my social studies teaching days, is we're curating resources. We're curating information about a particular topic. Having the students to be the ones that do this is powerful. You talk through what are good websites, what are not reputable websites. Where did you find that information? How did you search for that? How did you find that? How do you collect it? And if you stop and you think about it, the teacher no longer has to be the person that gives everything. Involving the students in that process not only allows you to do some of that digital citizenship teaching, it allows you to use Google Sheets. Let's go ahead and open this up. And I am actually not going to take the time to make a copy of this. I'm just going to come down here to one of the tabs. So you can see you share this sheet. You're talking about collaboration at this point, because I don't want you messing with my stuff and or with Stephanie's stuff or with Bridget's stuff or with Joe's stuff or, you know, Franklin or who, you know, whoever everybody is. You're having that conversation. And then who is it that you're researching? What's the source that you found about that person? Give me a brief little summary. And then here's the kicker. Why did you pick that? Oh, it was the top result when I did a Google search. Guys, that's not great evidence. Then you have that conversation. You don't just necessarily pick that top one. Or if you did, that shouldn't be the only reason that you picked it. Go and have those conversations. Build that out with your kids and blow that whole, I don't have to give them everything that they need to research. You guys are going to take part in this. You guys are going to learn some good searchings. And then at the end, if you have 25 kids sitting there doing this, chances are you got 25 different resources, probably more than you could find on your own, you know, and then you're also encouraging them to think about the why. Why are you picking this one? Give a summary. Great language arts summarizing skill, right? But why are you picking this? What is it good for? All right, so I know I'm coming up to the end. I've got a couple minutes left. Bridget, is there anything, because I've already talked about the resources tab, and maybe Bridget, one more time, you can pop in there the links to everything so that I know as people are leaving. Thank you everyone for coming. There is a super secret password. Is that what password?
Yes, and we're going to give it in 1 sec. But before we do that, I wanted to share some of the comments. Nifon said, love this to your presentation. And Valerie Teasley said, okay, you've given me the best session today so far, and I don't think anyone else will come close. Awesomeness is going to be hard to beat. I love to learn things that will truly help me and my students in the classroom. That blows your mind while enlightening you and turning on the light bulb. Thank you. And then you had about 8, 9, 10, 15 people say, agreed, yes, agreed, yes. So just want to tell you you're doing great work out there.
Thank you. Thank you. And you guys, like, I can't say it enough. A lot of teachers are in the same boat that I am. They're sharing their stuff out. Go out and look and connect with people. You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not the only one that's teaching whatever it is you're teaching, maybe in your building, but there are so many other people out there. And Bridget just put into the chat, the word is tenacity. Remember, you got to have that capital T. So you put that secret word in and you'll get your certificate. Thank you everyone for coming. It is almost 1:50. I'll have to stop recording here in probably like 30 seconds. Thank you. Please reach out if you have questions. I'd be happy to connect with you. Twitter, Facebook, Wakelet, like however your favorite method is. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for joining me and have a wonderful rest of your Saturday and weekend. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you. You were awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna stop recording.
I feel super good. I learned some stuff that I can use myself. So thank you. Thank you.